is Brannon Howse Live. Whether the issue is law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security, Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
A very disturbing day. I'm sure many of you right now are feeling like I am, which is very despondent to what we are watching happen to our nation and our country. Tonight, we are going to have with us Michael Reagan, the eldest son of President Ronald Reagan. He will be our guest. Judge Joe Brown, one of the most popular television judges in American history. His show would bounce in ratings between Judge Judy and his show. He, of course, obviously, in real life was a real judge, a prosecutor. He knows all about the legal system. You're going to hear from Judge Joe Brown tonight, along with Michael Reagan. We're also going to hear from Colonel John Mills here right at the beginning. And then we're going to be joined a little bit later by Trevor Loudon and Leo Holman. And then we'll finish off the night with my friend Mike Lindell, close personal friend of President Trump. It's an action-packed program. We are going to endeavor to move through it as quickly as we can. If we go over a little long tonight, so be it. We can do that. But it is a historic day, but a tragically historic day, without a doubt. We'll get to it with all of these guests again. So why don't you alert your family and friends right now? Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever you have. Let them know Brannon Howse Live is on. It's 8 p.m. Central, and he's about to have Ronald Reagan's son, Michael Reagan, Judge Joe Brown, Leo Holman, Trevor Loudon, Mike Lindell, Colonel John Mills. You don't want to miss a moment. Please share this far and wide. And yeah, the dog bed is empty. I guess she's out having her dinner tonight right now. But that is our beloved pet bed for Delta, who is our studio dog, for anyone wondering what that is. Let me mention very quickly as we go to the wide shot, because some may be asking, what is this right here? This actually is a solar generator, and that is the panel. That's a gigantic panel. If you want to go to the other wide shot, Logan, up on the ceiling, that is a big paneling right there. That's the solar panel. All right, so we have one of these. I have a gas generator. I have a natural gas Generac that runs the entire studio because we get storms here in the Mid-South. But should we have a disruption in natural gas? Should we have God forbid, a earthquake that cuts the gas lines? We need a backup to our backup to our backup, at least on a personal level, to be able to make sure our phones and a few other things work, right? So I have a brand new solar generator. You can get one at worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. If you go to the website, you will then see at the top right-hand corner is a big, bright red phone number. Most of you are going to want to call the phone number there at the top corner right there, big, bright number, 1-866-738-3224, 1-866-738-3224. A lot of you are going to want to call that number and ask questions before you order something as big and expensive as a solar generator, right? But they also have phones that don't track you. They have satellite phones. I have this one here in the middle, the 9555. Those are satellite phones. You can get a free phone, actually, with their very reasonable monthly plan for 24 months. Click the arrow right there, that little red arrow. That'll allow you to see more options. They got the Faraday bags. And then here are the generators. Again, click the little red arrow. That moves everything over. I have right here is the EcoFlow Delta Pro 400 Plus right there. So again, we have these available now. We're very excited about our partnership with this company, and they've given us the very unique URL, worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. So any of you wondering, what is that on his desk? That is what that is. I hope you'll get one for yourself as well. They support us, and of course, what it takes to keep this program going, folks, is those of you that support our sponsors, our foundation, and then worldviewtube.com/vault. That's how we put it all together. The foundation, worldviewtube.com/vault, where we archive 20 years plus of programming, and then those that support our sponsors. Lord willing, each and every month, we meet all of our budgets to get everybody paid. And I've got to send over about $30,000 in bandwidth streaming bill and storage of all these digital files that get pulled up and played, because every time someone plays one, we got to pay the bill. So again, when you support us in these various ways, it allows us to keep this going 24/7. So thank you for your support. Let's go now to Colonel John Mills. He joins us right outside the nation's capital. Colonel, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Brannon. An honor to be back on this show. A dark day for America. We don't know where this is going. This is uncharted territory. The crazies think they've pulled one off. Hey, there's a lot more steps to this process, and I think this is just showing more and more Americans about a weaponized federal government, which is in cahoots with this. This is a county. Alvin Bragg is a county hick hayseed prosecutor. And so he was able, and in New York, they're allowed to essentially not even define it's never really been defined to the jury what the crime was. And the judge never gave that as part of the instruction set. This is crazy. So, ladies and gentlemen, fret not. That's Bible speak. Do not worry. Do not overreact. And God is in control in this matter. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to right America. We have to show a steel resolve no matter what. And so this is far from over. Don't throw your hands up in the air.
So let me ask you. What do you think happens June 11th? Like, 3 or 4 days before the GOP convention in Milwaukee? They're going to put him under house arrest? They're going to throw him in jail? What do you think they do?
I think every time they do this, it'll only increase his popularity. Who was it? Dennis Quaid came out, said, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. I see the weaponization. I'm paraphrasing what he said. But he said, I see the weaponization of government. Black America sees the weaponization of government to oppress and attack. They see what's going on. This is why blacks, Latinos, and others are strongly trending. Most everybody sees through this. The Manhattan latte slurping, easily triggered Greta Thunberg anger pixies. They think they've pulled one off. Hey, this is far from over. And I think this is only ensuring that Donald J. Trump will return.
I go back. Will they actually throw him at Rikers Island, or are they going to give him house arrest?
Who knows? Who knows? I think this is going to have to get pushed up to the Supreme Court level in the state of New York, but I think also to the national. This is clear election interference. This is no question about. They are terrified of the return of General Trump breaking down the walls of the swamp and returning to drain the swamp. They are terrified of this. Why? Because it disrupts everything they have to essentially keep 84% of Americans essentially at bay. Send our jobs overseas, let the Chinese do what they want, continue to develop endless wars. So this is far from over, and I think this is only helping ensure. Now, I'll be at the convention. I'm going to be part of the Virginia delegation to the convention.
And you'll be reporting for us while you're there, along with Tamara Scott, along with Colonel Rob Maness. All three of you actually will be there reporting for us. Okay,
that'll be great. Looking forward to that. So this is far from over, and we're, ladies and gentlemen, we have not yet begun to fight. And if we want America, we have to have a steel resolve. And as Winston Churchill said, who was half American, we never, ever, 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 ever give up, never, ever, ever surrender. Do not fret over this.
Yeah, well, he also said it's better to perish than to live as slaves. So, yeah, you fight to the end. Let's go to the one headline tonight of three I want to talk to you about. Navy Admiral warns Russia and Chinese nationals. Russian and Chinese nationals are trying to infiltrate U.S. military bases. We add this to the fact we had a colonel who oversees special forces shot and killed a Chechen who apparently was posing as a utility worker, who there doesn't seem to be indication he was. As Colonel Rob Maness said the other night, they seem to be putting out target packages on key people here in the U.S., America's enemies, which now includes their family members. Now we have Navy Admiral warning that Russians and Chinese are penetrating our military bases. What is that?
This is Admiral 4-star Daryl Cottle, who I've personally worked for and visited with a number of times. He is, I would suggest, one of the good ones we can trust. So he came out. He was on Fox News talking about this. He's the only military commander. This is a joint problem. This is not just a Navy problem, and he is in a Navy billet. He's not in a joint billet, but he's the one 4-star out there saying, "Hey, we got a situation." And the most recent one, they had the shooting down at Fort Bragg. That's still a developing story. Don't know all the details. Local law enforcement, that was not on base at Fort Liberty. That was at a personal residence that had some acreage and property. And this Special Forces colonel, he felt something was up. I think somebody like this is highly trained and is not just going to is very well experienced and comfortable carrying a firearm and dealing with deadly force situations. So I don't think he just went out there and willy-nilly shot somebody. And it turns out they're a Chechen. That's very disturbing. And then Quantico, about an 10-minute drive away from my house, at the main gate, we had two illegals that had gotten into the country because of the open border policy of Biden. One of them is on the terrorist watch list. I mean, they said they were Amazon delivery people. That's a bunch of hooey. This is clearly, but it goes back even further. Don't forget summer of 2019 when we had multiple Chinese personalities probe the Key West complexes, the DoD. Now, the DoD basing at it's mostly Navy. We still have the vestiges of there used to be a intelligence collection field station down there that still exists a bit. We fly 2 balloons. One of them is broadcast radio Marti. Another one is a surveillance balloon. And isn't that interesting? The summer 2019, at multiple locations, multiple Chinese personalities were arrested and convicted of trying to enter the different facilities. And that was just 90 miles north of not just Cuba, but the Lourdes spy base. That what happened in last summer of 23. The Chinese said, "Oh, by the way, along with the Russians, we're going to reopen the spy base at Lourdes," which was their intelligence collection system or base. And I assert it was never even closed. The Russians supposedly closed it in 2000. I don't think it was ever really closed. But then Blinken went over there on his apology tour and was roughed up pretty bad on his flight. He actually left from China, went to Europe. In flight, the Chinese said, "Hey, we're not only going to participate in the spy base, we're going to do military training, mill-to-mill, unit-to-unit training in Cuba." So in 2019, did they want to know our capability to collect on them in Key West? Is that what they were up to? So this is multiple locations.
Well, let's look at this one. Operatives from Communist China have been caught scuba diving close to Cape Canaveral. Yes. Wandered onto a missile launch site in New Mexico and claimed to be looking for a Holiday Inn when caught at an Army base in Alaska. I got to keep moving quickly, but all of this tells you that with the balloon, of course, flying across the country, the Chinese balloon flying across, they are surveilling, they're picking targets, they're getting ready for something. Again, I don't know how to stress this to the American people any more than we do. We are going to have something big and kinetic happen here on our soil. They don't send 100,000 military-age males here from CCP for no reason. You don't have all these Islamists here. You don't have the leader of Iran now calling on American college students to join their cause and their intifada. You don't have this red-green axis preparing the battlefield like they're doing and have been doing now for a few years, unless they intend to carry out and pull the trigger on something kinetic on our soil. I don't know when, I don't know what, but I think it will make 9/11 look like a drop in the bucket, and I think it will be horrific and barbaric to the tune of October 7th. True or false?
Yeah, absolutely. Even my daughter at dinner time asked, Don't the Chinese have to declare war on us? And I said, well, no. I mean, this is not how world affairs are done. There's not some formal, I declare war on the U.S. I look back to the 2021 agreement where China, Russia, and then also Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela agreed to take down America. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at war. We are. A lot of people got to get it through their head. They say, well, I don't see bombs or missiles going off on American territory. Their war consists of various forms. The Chinese are experts at passive aggressively pushing the envelope and getting their way. They're like in the cubicle farm of a workplace. You've got the dysfunctional coworker who constantly is moving their cubicle into your space. Well, this is what they do on an international scale very aggressively. They're in the Solomon Islands. They've now infiltrated their paramilitary police. Same thing they did with Hong Kong. They fired and removed all the British trained police and brought in specially heavily armed thugs who were paramilitary police. So this is all. We are at war. War is in progress. Let's get it through our heads. Let's get out of this state of denial and realize what's going on.
And get prepared. As Colonel Matus said this week, buy arms, buy weapons, practice your Second Amendment, and practice your skill set. Get ready. They're bringing us war. Gordon Chang said this week on my broadcast, the American people need to get ready to be without government for a few months. I pressed him on it. Yeah, be without a functioning government for a few months. That's how bad he thinks it could get. Let's go to the next one. U.S. Gaza pier knocked out of action by heavy seas. Now, this audience knows that I was like, give me a break. We're going to spend $360 million building this pier, put our servicemen and women at risk. So that Hamas can use this? Well, apparently the Biden regime couldn't build the pier. It broke loose. I mean, this has been this is pretty much a picture of the Biden administration, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is zero supplies have been delivered to the intended recipients. Zero. The cost of this, the Pentagon put out $320 million. They just winged that number. That was a frantic number of OSD public affairs calling down a joint staff J4 and saying, hey, give us a number. Okay, $320 million. They don't even know what the number is. It's a joke. And this shows, now there's some interesting takeaways for any Chinese attempts to take Taiwan. Because look at what happened. JLOTS this joint logistic over the shore is fragile. It is not intended to be permanent. And look at a moderate storm essentially broke it up, and it's the remnants are being towed to an Israeli port for repairs. So it shows the fragile nature of the JLOTS operating concept. Well, guess what? It's the storm time in the Taiwan Straits, and it gets much rougher than this. And it's April to October. So this is going to make the Chinese kind of think, because they watch everything we do, analyze everything that happens to an almost comical degree, and they say, look, we're supposed to be experts in this, and look, our JLOTS thing was just ripped apart by a moderate, not sure I'd even call it a storm, but moderate weather conditions. So it shows the fragility of this, and the Chinese have never done anything like this. So, expect a rush. Now, it was Dmitry Alperovich of the cybersecurity company CrowdStrike. I don't know when I know him personally. And I have questions on whether he was part of the coup against candidate and then President Trump. But he just came out with a book, and he was on NBC saying, "Hey, the Chinese can take Taiwan in an hour by using hovercraft to go up the river and seize the president's building in palace in Taiwan," which I did multiple broadcasts for you from Taiwan. I'm not sure I agree with that, but suddenly. In his book, he said, oh, yes, they can seize the TSMC plants in an hour. I go, well, I mean, holy smokes. He may know ones and zeros and lines of code. I don't know why Dmitry Alperovich is suddenly a seasoned logistics and invasion planner. I don't know where he came up with that. I mean, I actually did the paperwork to give him his top secret when he came in as a special employee. So I don't know.
Look at that.
I don't know where he suddenly knows all this stuff, but he says they can seize it in an hour. I go, That is very optimistic. Nothing goes according to plan. Okay, you got to get used to that. So
yeah, well,
very,
and you just let out some very interesting information. You have a fascinating life. You have run into a lot of people, know a lot of people, and it's fascinating what you offer up sometimes that I didn't know myself. Let's look at this last one. The Wall Street Journal: How America inadvertently created an axis of evasion led by China. Tell me about this. I guess the sub-headline: Western sanctions and export controls were meant to subdue foes of the U.S., but instead have led to a shadowy economy. Quickly tell me about this, please, Colonel.
ladies and gentlemen, this is part of the war to take down America. And because we're nominally still the reserve currency, we can do sanctions. There's no formal process for somebody to be elected the reserve currency. It's an informal process where the different financial institutes kind of just say, well, which country is the best bet for the future? We're still the best bet, as dysfunctional as we are. But because we're the reserve currency, we can impose on banks and say, we want sanctions, we want trade restrictions. But this is where Trump and Navarro knew this, and they knew the other side would continually evolve and play games to get around the system. So you had to continually update what you're doing. What the Biden team is, they just put in sanctions and do nothing. And then what happens? Chinese companies change their name. So when people are saying, oh, well, you used to be the Chinese LiDAR company, now you're the Acme Anvil company. And then they go, oh, okay, you're not on the. They play this game constantly. I've talked to Commerce. I mean, how do you guys keep up with this? And they say, oh, we do, but there is a significant lag time. So long story short, the Chinese and the Russians have created a shadow economy to get around all the American financial controls. So we, at this point in time, there are two world economies. This is part of the war to take down America. The Biden team is economically illiterate. I had Bill Walton, not the basketball player, the CPAC deputy vice chair, who's a very accomplished financial senior executive, and he said the Biden team, they are financially illiterate. They'll put down a sanction, and then the Chinese and the Russians will just figure out a way around the sanction, and we won't update or evolve our measures to continue to hit them hard, because they need to get hit hard. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have there's two economies in the world going on: the nominally U.S.-led one, and then the growing and expanding shadow economy that China is leading.
And you add BRICS to it: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, all the other folks wanting to join, and they're going to back their so-called crypto with a little bit of gold, which will, of course, make many people say, why are we holding this useless paper backed by nothing but consumer confidence? Let's dump that and kiss the U.S. dollar goodbye, global reserve currency. All those dollars come rushing back to our shore, and voila, that's part of the economic war. That's part of the new way of warfare. That's unrestricted warfare, 1999, two Chinese communist colonels. It's all unfolding very, very quickly. And I have to move quickly because we still have Michael Reagan, Mike Lindell, Trevor Loudon, Judge Joe Brown, and Leo Holman. What a night. Very sad night, very historic night, kind of a punch in the gut kind of night for most of us Americans. And something we've never seen: a sitting president found guilty on 34 counts in a, quote, criminal trial. What a sham. What a really manufactured scenario to help destroy the republic and the rule of law. Very sad tonight. War Against the Deep State is the book. It is also the website. War Against the Deep State, a book written by a man that served on the National Security Council staff in the Situation Room for two presidents, and he has a show by that title each and every day, produced by my team in the control room, and it's called The Situation Room, and the host is this gentleman right here, Colonel John Mills.
In the Situation Room, to distinguish it from somebody who's never really been in the Situation Room, and I still have better hair and beard than that guy does.
I think he's on another channel, I think, right?
Yes, yeah, supposedly that you only see in airports.
Yeah, exactly. In the Situation Room with Colonel John Mills, worldviewtube.com. What time's it air, Logan? He's thinking. time's it air?
3:30 p.m.
3:30. Is that Central or East Coast? 3:30 Central, 4:30 East Coast. 3:30 Central, 4:30 East Coast. I should have just asked you, Colonel. All right. Thank you, Colonel. Appreciate it.
Use code B66 on Lindell My Store for signed copies. Thank you, Brannon.
You're very kind. Thank you, Colonel.